Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm quite unprepared. I don't have a witty comeback this morning, today.
You haven't had one for a long time, so don't make it sound like it's just
Do you know what? I've had a lot on my mind. I've had there's been a lot going on.
Like
I got the COVID.
You got the vid. That,
Oh,
if
to be
anything, you
honest-
had more time to sit around
To be
and
honest,
think.
I'm going to be
witty.
I'm going to be milking that one out for a long time. So you better get ready for that.
Yeah, and I bet like you just had. I bet it's like the least worst chest infection you've ever had in your life because you get a lot of those.
I mean, I've literally already added it to my to my prostitute profile. It does
I
say
can
I've
believe
had the COVID, so prepared it might not last as long. Whereas before I had to come up with all kinds of excuses every time. I'd be
Yeah,
like, oh, this
yeah.
doesn't normally happen. When it, obviously that is the norm, but.
Yeah, so I don't even know what to do with that. But guys, this week is a football episode, and the reason we know that is because someone just magically appeared here just before we started recording. It doesn't happen every time, but sometimes just Jake turns up and Ash appears.
Yeah. Through
The
power of
secret,
like-
the secret is you have to look in the mirror, say his name 3 times, and crack open a can for the boys.
Do you know what? Just like with a certain Mary, I don't think I could bring myself to do it.
No,
No, just can't risk
you've
it.
got to be careful though, because you might summon Boris. So it's like a fine balance
What by saying what?
by cracking open a cold one for the boys.
Oh, I see. No, I don't think Boris doesn't scream beer drinker to me, but
Pims. But anyway,
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Tell the people what we're here to talk about, Ash.
We're here to talk about football and the footballing world.
and it's a busy time
There's
for
been
football.
a lot going on, and obviously we don't do these as often, so a lot more happens in between the
We
episodes.
cover
and
a
we
lot.
have time.
We cram a
to-
lot in,
We always.
and we
Especially
do the
with
pod
Ash
as
here.
well.
We do the pod, and we do a lot of cramming.
And we do the podcast
In and out of
as
the
well.
pod.
Yeah,
There's a lot of in and out in. But one of the things we talked about last time, and we were quite harsh about him, and I wanted to cover it this time, was Mikel Arteta. I wanted to have another conversation about him. The general consensus between the three of us last time was just that he was
He's not the man.
nobody, and he's not the man.
I still don't think he's the man to take him to that next level, but I do have to admit I am impressed with how he's turned him around.
Yeah.
And I do have to admit I think one of the big telling points was the Aubameyang thing
Okay.
and how he handled that.
Well, basically, by telling him to fuck off.
Well, yeah, the handling the discipline thing and then saying,
By
well,
having
you're not
a
in the
discipline
team.
structure
And also,
in place.
with the greatest respect, can we just talk about the fact that it's like working with a handicap when you have Granit Xhaka on your team?
That man it's a bit like having Jamie Carragher in your team, that at some moment he's going to fuck you over. You just don't know when
Yeah.
or where.
Ash, our thoughts on Mikel Arteta?
I feel like he's had enough of the players.
Well,
And
all
it-
of them.
Well, it seems like it. Instead of waiting to get a replacement in, he's just getting rid of them now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
their team is running very thin. I'm wondering who they have left to sell. if I'm honest.
Well, the funny thing is, Aubameyang, who, again, I just like bringing this up every time we have this conversation, I called about 2 years ago now saying they should have sold him when they had the chance. You know, hate to say I'm right, but I'm right.
I
But
can't
anyway, he's
Yeah.
being linked with a move to Saudi Arabia at the moment. But apparently he's holding out for a European move.
Well, yeah. Well, Newcastle wasted their money on Chris Wood.
That's a very weird one, and I do want to
Yeah.
come on to Newcastle.
Yeah. Okay, we'll save that then. I
But if
think
we can just finish on Arsenal, what do we think of them now compared to last time? I think for me, their squad looks stronger just in terms of cohesion than it did before. I don't
think
necessarily
they're
think the
missing-
football's amazing or their performances are amazing, but I think they're working together as a unit to a degree that's getting
I
them
think they're missing a
results.
leader in the team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, when you're looking to players like Aubameyang, who was the club captain, and players like Xhaka, who's supposed to be a leader in the dressing room, being a captain before, when you're relying on those sorts of people, you haven't really got leaders, have you?
I think who has done very well. Saka's done very well as well. But last
I
year,
think he's done
year
all right.
before,
I mean-
he couldn't score. Now he's like their only source of goals.
That's fair. I've liked Emil Smith Rowe. He looks like a
De Bruyne.
tidy
De
player.
Bruyne.
Yeah. That's
What do we
right.
make of this thing of trend in football where someone's always got to be the something, you know, like
Yeah.
the place name Messi, like, you know, oh, that he's.
I just think
the-
that's all brand, isn't it? I think it just goes into that. I don't think it really means anything. It doesn't really bother me.
No,
No.
Ash.
I don't know why they just can't be themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I have an issue
Some
with
philosophical shit.
like every time any young player comes through in this country, if he's half decent, we go, "Oh, he's the next Wayne Rooney," or "He's the
I
next."
don't. Can I just say I don't
Lampard."
think anyone's ever said he's the next Wayne Rooney.
I
Wayne
reckon
Rooney
they
was a
have.
good player, whatever. He was never exactly like a marketable poster boy
I
for
don't
football.
know. He was the face for Pepsi for quite a few years.
And what a hideous face it was. Everyone would rather have Coke.
Yeah, if you want to be,
I
the
prefer
next,
Pepsi to Coke. You're talking to the wrong man.
If you want to be the next forward, you want to be Henry or Ronaldo. You
I
don't
guess so.
wanna
I
be-
mean,
Yeah.
I'm a massive Wayne Rooney fanboy, so I think.
Well, so I
You've
take it
seen
you've
the
got it
pictures
in
in
your.
bedroom.
Yeah.
It was weird you
I have
photoshopped
had
him
that.
onto Dappy's body.
But I think for me, he was what I like in an English forward, a bit like Alan. It's just an old-fashioned goal scorer.
So
can
what
do
I
it
presume
all.
you've got in your notes to talk about Rooney currently.
I actually didn't this time.
Okay, well then, shall we leapfrog on and discuss that briefly?
We absolutely can, yeah. What do we? I mean, last time we spoke about Rooney, we basically sort of said we felt like he was given a shit hand and that you can't really judge him off of that.
I think he's doing really well at Derby.
So do I.
He is doing really well.
I mean, imagine if they pull it off.
I mean, he has been linked with the Everton job. My belief is now that it's between Pereira and.
Oh my God! Did anyone see the Pereira going on Sky Sports News, phoning in and talking about how he'd interviewed for the Everton job and like going, oh well, yeah, this is what I was talking about in the interview, and it's like, how fucking it's one of the weirdest.
Something that makes you go, do you know what? I probably
one of the weirdest things I've
I
seen.
don't ever remember this.
No, it only happened the other day.
No,
Oh, okay. It can't have been big enough news.
no, and the other person's Lampard. And I mean, again, our opinions on him previously were that he's pretty much unproven. He wouldn't have got the Chelsea job unless they were in the situation they were in, and he obviously hasn't had a job since.
I think Lampard's going to be a journeyman manager.
Yeah, and I don't think it will be a long journey. I think it'll be 2 or 3 jobs where he gets less and less return for what he puts in.
I think
and
he'll just bounce around the leagues, Championship, League One, getting clubs to mid-table.
I don't know if he even goes below the Championship. I think if he gets to that stage, he's the sort of person, he's got enough money, he doesn't need it, he just walks away.
I could see him being England manager at some point. It'd be like
Really? I think I'd far more agree if you were saying Gerrard, but not Lampard. It's funny though, isn't it? The debate continues.
Yeah.
Gerrard's destined for Liverpool.
I think you're right, but I could definitely see him being the England manager as well.
Doing quite well at Villa, Gerrard.
Yeah.
He's done all right. Yeah, he's had a few injuries.
They've really backed him though. Like signed in Luca Digne and Philip Coutinho. And I mean, Callum Chambers is less enthusiastic. When I saw that, I was a bit like, it sort of takes the shine off of the other two a little bit.
It was a free transfer.
Free transfer?
Free,
so
Oh, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, he's no Chris Wood.
No, it's no Chris Wood. All right, well, that takes me on. We might as well go to it because it's come up a couple of times now. What do we think of the Newcastle takeover since it's happened?
So we haven't talked since the Newcastle takeover, have we?
No, I think at the time, I don't know if they were. We did. It wasn't going on, so we didn't really discuss it.
It seems like we're heading for a sort of La Liga sort of league where we have City and Newcastle run the roost.
Are we though?
Well,
Well, they're going to have to come back from the Championship first.
Well,
the
this is
signings they're making.
well, it's interesting because today they've just agreed a deal for £38 million for a Brazilian box-to-box midfielder from Lyon, whose name I can't pronounce.
or something,
Something
right?
like that. Yeah. And they have Sevilla have done what most clubs do with a club.
Well,
like
they've hiked up the
Newcastle.
prices,
They've hiked up the prices. And the player Chelsea were trying to sign in the summer, Diego Carlos, who's a centre back.
Yeah.
Basically, Sevilla said at the start of the window they'd accept offers of 30 million. So Newcastle went in and went, all right, well, here's 30 million. They went, oh, no, we want 50 now.
Oh, I heard it was only 37.5.
Oh, see, I heard 50.
And I was,
So
cause
yours is probably more realistic,
I
but
was
they
like,
basically said, no, we're not paying
I'd
above
happily
30.
pay 37.5 for.
The thing is that
It's
the
probably the more
Newcastle
sensible thing
fans,
to do.
as all the memes have shown, it's like you can't be like we're the richest club in the world, and they've been like, you guys want to charge us how much? Like you're the richest, you're backed by fucking
And look, it just
billionaires.
happens. It's the same for
gajillionaires.
every other big
Yeah.
club with money, or when any team comes into money, like when Tottenham sold Gareth Bale, immediately any player Tottenham go for afterwards, it's got a higher price.
It was like when we wanted Van Dijk. We sold Coutinho for 130 and
Yeah,
Southampton
I mean,
knew we
what a
needed
good
him.
bit of business that was. I mean, let's be honest, that's mental.
Don't know. I still don't know if it's worth 80, 90 million, whatever they paid.
What, for Van Dijk? You don't think he's had enough of an impact?
No, I'm not doubting his impact.
You don't think he was worth the price of admission?
Not sure that he was.
What do you think, Ash?
Well, I mean, he's won us the Prem and the Champions League, so
Yeah.
he's paid for
Does that not
himself.
just speak for itself?
Well, anyone can win the Champions League.
True, but not everyone can win the Premier League.
That's true.
That's true.
And
So
that was the
Tuchel
one-
struggling to do it this
That
season.
was the one we wanted. Yeah, I'm glad to see him dropping off a little.
Yeah.
I feel a little.
Is that just as a
vindicated.
Liverpool
I
fan,
no,
or
I
is that
feel
just
a
as
little
a-
vindicated on my.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
it's
you
funny
did talk him
in
down
the
a little
last
bit.
pod. Yes, you did talk him down, but we both agreed that Chelsea were being massively overhyped after the signing of Lukaku, and I think, to be honest, that's
Lukaku, who's barely played, by the way.
yeah. But let's be honest,
He hasn't done. much
he was
of it.
exactly like in the last pod I mentioned that like even when he was at Inter Milan and he was banging in goals, all of the problems of Lukaku were still there. He's not great on the ball. His first touch is
No, but
non-existent.
if you're going to score goals, it almost doesn't matter as long as you can
yeah, but
sacrifice
if
that
you're
position.
still scoring the goals, and he's come into the Premier League and it's exactly the same as he was when he was at Man United.
Yeah.
Just he goes large portions games where he's just non-existent. He might get a goal, he might not, and that's sort of how it's gone.
I mean,
And then it doesn't help when you do that interview.
no, that didn't help him. In his defence, though, because he got Tuchel had a game in the City game,
Yeah,
and the service to him was dreadful. He was
Yeah, it
actually
weren't-
getting
it
in good
weren't good.
positions.
yeah. I mean, in
He's just
those
never getting
games,
the
yeah,
ball.
you can excuse the striker, but I think in general, I don't think he's. I mean, he started the season well, but it just tapered off, and now he's just since that interview, Tuchel seems to be more or less done with him.
Yeah, but he keeps starting him and then complaining about his performance. So
Yeah,
I don't quite get it.
no.
No, I don't quite get that either.
So what do we think will happen? Do we think he's just going to get sold eventually and end up somewhere like Juventus or Bayern?
I think he'll
Munich?
try and I
Yeah.
think he'll try and outlast Tuchel.
I reckon he'll go back to.
What do we
70
reckon?
mil.
Tuchel's going to last the season?
He'll last the season. I don't know if we'll do another season though.
It's a weird one because they have gone stale, haven't they? Like he
Depends
proper
how they do, innit?
revitalised them, and do you think that's is like their squad? You look at it and you go, "There's some really good players there," but it just seems to
No, do you know what?
it goes stale very
I
easily.
don't necessarily think that. I think their best defender
I
is
think
like
they've got
40
really
years
good
old.
individuals.
I think
Yeah,
when you look at their
that's fair.
midfield, you've got Kante. Well, no, you've got the defensive ones, which I do rate, to be fair.
Yeah,
But then you're looking at the attacking ones. They've got like Ross Barkley. Oh no, fair enough. Doesn't really play very much.
No.
You've got who's the other?
Cheek is out
Loftus Cheek is one of the ones
he's
that's not
more
getting played.
cover though, isn't he?
Sal Nunes.
Yeah, who has
Who's
improved
might as
this
well.
season.
I mean, it's
I
like
might as well just.
I'm not exactly looking at that and thinking winners.
No, but they've still got Mason Mount.
Oh, Mount. Okay, Mount is. But again, Mount's okay.
And then they've got who's the German one?
Havertz. He's more of, I
Havertz.
always think of him as more of a forward. I know he plays deeper, but I always
Yeah.
think of him as more of a.
But the problem was they brought two of the best German players around.
Yeah.
Fucking rude.
Yeah,
A little bit.
they have. I
A
think
little
that's
bit.
fair. I mean, Havertz has had one. I mean, he'll forever be remembered for Chelsea for scoring a goal in the final
Yeah.
of the Champions League. But beyond that, he's not really done much. And he's a £75 million 19-year-old, and that's just
Yeah.
Nuts.
That's how much we paid for Van Dijk, I believe.
Yes, but it was like 78
so.
million.
In
when 80.
let's now throw that out
80,
there,
90.
Jay. In view of that,
Do you know what? Now you've changed my mind. I think that's actually maybe not a bad bit of business.
I mean, but can we talk about just going back to Coutinho for a moment, because it's something that's just never really been talked about widely in football. But Liverpool go and sell him for 120 million. He does fuck all at Barcelona. Barcelona then loan him out, but because of the deal they made with Liverpool, if Coutinho won a Champions League, it didn't specify what club, they had to pay them another 20 million.
it's mental, isn't it?
No. And you wonder why they're in money troubles.
Yeah, that's true. They are in some bad situation money-wise.
Although they signed Ferran Torres and were like, "Yeah, we're back," and it was a bit like, "Are you?"
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
55 mil.
And apparently
Messi, Neymar,
they
Suarez.
structured that in like 15 million a year for the next. They've paid nothing up front.
I heard they got a bank loan.
I
yeah,
imagine
they did. That's absolutely true.
I
They got a
imagine when the
loan
bank
and
knock
they've
on the
scheduled it
door.
over.
there's going to be, whoever the fucking president is at that time with like a fake moustache being like, oh, no, he's not in.
It's such a weird way to run a club, like these presidential elections where they have to make
Huge
pledges
promises
and promises.
and
I'm going to
huge
go sign
delivers,
Antoine
yeah.
Griezmann, even though it's going to cost us
Money we
collectively
don't have.
200 million. And yeah, I'll just go out and get a bank loan for it because we don't have it. And it's mad. I mean, I sort of like the fact it's happened because it's shown stricter regulations can work, and it causes a correction, and it causes teams to learn lessons. Well, I hope it does.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
they've had to become one of the, let's face it, like Europa League level teams now.
What, you think
mean-
that's where Barca are now?
in terms of their squad, I appreciate they are still doing quite well. But in terms of their
of
squad,
the ability of the team,
they've sort of become a that level team where it's like you're better than most of the league, but you're not going to challenge really for anything.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, they've got,
as you said, that's come as a result of them overspending and doing, living outside of their means.
When you're having to let Luis Suarez go while he's still in his pomp, like when he's still firing in goals, like it's nothing.
We mention last time the Luis Suarez Italian School of Language thing? Did we talk about that?
I don't think so, no.
I was just wondering. You know when he was going to sign for Juventus or whoever it was?
Oh, he had to go to a university.
And he had to go to university, and it was like the fakest fucking university you've ever heard.
Yeah. And it still fell
through.
And
they immediately caught him out and were like, bro, this isn't even real.
Yeah.
And sent him packing.
And then they let him go back to Atletico originally for nothing, and then had to beg them for some money just to save face. So they got, like, I think it was $2.5 million. And
that feels like that saving face.
They've sold Griezmann back to Atletico for I think 40 million after signing him for 100.
Atletico are doing really well out of the collapse of Barca,
mate. And then on top of that, you've got Ousmane Dembele, who again £100 million signing, is now free to leave for around 20 million, because basically he's the only player at the club that has point blank refused to drop his wages through all of this. I think he dropped them once and then has refused since. So obviously he's still on a measly, like, 250 a week, 300 a week.
How he gets by.
I don't know how he survives. It must
Sometimes
be really difficult.
I walk past like food banks and I just think, oh,
what are the footballers doing?
Or Osman.
But going back to Newcastle, because we didn't quite finish there.
Give us your best Geordie accent.
Oh, we're man.
Give us your best Geordie accent.
Do not have a good. I'm not a man with accents.
I'm not giving you nothing like. I'm giving you no accent.
That was alright.
Go
on. What do we think of Eddie Howe so far? Because I think
that's such a weird signing.
Yeah, it's awkward because the team was garbage.
The team is.
I mean, like, he's got them playing better.
Maximin is the only one I would take.
Yeah.
Even then, though, the Newcastle fans are going off of him because he's got very little end product. It's a bit like having Wilf, to be honest with you.
To be fair, like, and Adama Traore has been linked to Barcelona now.
He's gone there. He's on loan with an option to buy.
Yeah,
I did see someone.
Spurs got proper done over there.
I did see someone tweet.
Apparently, he'd done a medical at Spurs.
Yeah. Really? Oh yeah.
And then Barca just came.
No, but I thought.
Have you seen where Liverpool are stealing Luis Diaz off Spurs?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, I did see that.
It's because everyone turns up there and they're like, they sort of get the DVDs and they watch Spurs.
I mean,
like,
let's be honest.
Can't be
who
that
would
bad.
you rather play for, Spurs or?
I mean,
Liverpool.
literally anyone. No disrespect to Spurs, but they are
you do
serial
really
losers.
Hate Spurs.
No, I'm not.
It's actually one of the things I wanted to bring up because you went after them hard.
Do you know what bothers me about Spurs?
Or was it you? One of you went after Spurs.
Oh, well, good notice, bro.
Jake. Yeah, I feel like it was Jake.
You guys talk amongst yourself. I'm going to find out which one of you.
Can I just say what my problem with Spurs is?
Go on.
They had, under Pochettino and the way they're playing, they had one of the best teams to not win anything.
Yeah.
And they blew it in such
Ash. My apologies, it's Ash that hates Spurs. You went in hard on it.
And I know, but they blew it in such a phenomenal way. They literally, that collapse at Chelsea when Leicester won the league is one of the all-time moments of, fuck, I'm so glad I'm not a fan of that club.
Yeah.
And they're just serial losers. Every time you think they've got a chance of winning something, they are. Do you know that saying, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory? They epitomise that.
What amazes me is how Kane, he still gets talked up, and yet he still does fuck all in any game.
I mean,
he's got like 4 goals this season.
He has improved under their current guy.
Because he's not playing deep line midfielder anymore. I think that's why I went off on him, because Kane.
No, it wasn't Kane. It was genuinely like you just kept making digs about Tottenham. Like any time Tottenham came up, it was just they were just dismissed.
Don't remember that hatred.
Do not remember.
But yeah, so obviously back to Newcastle again. We still haven't finished on them. Eddie Howe. Do we think he's doing a good job currently?
No.
It's doing okay.
No,
I think he's doing all right.
He's got a very tough situation. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
but nothing. With the greatest respect,
I don't know why Chris Wood is there.
Nothing about his time at Bournemouth made me think that
guy
he's
suited for the job. Yeah.
No, they used to
he can't coach a defence. That's traditionally what he just can't do.
But they play good football. Like he'll get them to where they need to be before.
I mean, obviously he just needs more quality.
Maybe they will.
Level,
I think he just needs more quality in that team, and I think you add a couple of top class players, and it just drags you over the line. I think
they had a bid. I think it was 8 or 9 mil rejected for Damba.
Yeah,
I saw
was
that.
like, why? What a waste.
Yeah, but
because they didn't. To be fair, they didn't want to do an Arsenal and overpay for a Brighton player.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, like, Burnley have gone and taken the money from Chris Wood, and they've gone and signed 2 new massive players for them that are going to massively
Have they
make
signed
them.
him?
They're signing Weghorst, I think it is, from Wolfsburg.
Oh, I
I
never
think he
heard about
was
that
at
one.
Wolfsburg. He's like nearly 7 foot tall. He's like a better version than Chris Wood, but half the money.
I already don't like him. Too tall.
And I think he's either German or Austrian. So if he's German,
I
there's
think-
another reason
I
not to
think he's
like him.
German.
It's definitely a reason not to like him then. Not being racist towards Germans or anything.
We've got a tradition on the podcast of mugging off an entire group of people. Usually you attack women, but it's nice for you to take a break and do the Germans.
One last thing to talk about. Ash mentioned his concerns with Newcastle was that it could become a 2-horse race of just 2 superpowers with unlimited money. Can that actually happen, though? Because the Premier League clubs have very hypocritically, in my opinion, gone after the sponsorship rules. Have you seen this? Immediately after the takeover happened, they slapped on new rules that limits sponsorship.
That's the real worry, is that rather than it becoming a 2-horse race, which is bad enough, is that enough of the club's campaign to absolutely destroy the club. I mean, we don't have many financial caps in place and fair play rules in place, but to absolutely demolish them and then start getting this really dodgy money. And I'm not necessarily a fan of Newcastle source of money.
No.
And I'll tell you what I really didn't like, and I think we just got to talk about it a little bit, and I really hope, as a Palace fan, if Palace ever get taken over by, some Middle Eastern riches, which I really don't.
If you really want me to make you feel depressed, we're part owned by them.
But you know what I mean, but like a proper...
No, I know what you mean,
100%
like fully backed.
Fully backed. But I think the thing that would really, really make me think, oh God, I'm so ashamed to be a Palace fan right now, is if we all turned up with tea towels on our heads and Saudi Arabia. I
think we can agree it's unnecessary and just pathetic.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
It's really weird. It's weird that grown men want to behave that way, but we've all been on stag do, so it does happen.
Oh yeah, I'll suck a dick, but I'm not going to put a tea towel on my head and pretend to be an Arab.
Absolutely not. No, sorry.
Got to draw the line somewhere. Fuck.
So we touched on him briefly with Conte at Spurs. Again, what do we think so far? I think it's been very, like Ash's it's been meh. It's been all right.
He's got a tough job.
He has. There's no money there, or there is.
And
but
no disrespect, but
to spend it.
Their defense isn't great, but their midfield is garbage, utter garbage.
I mean,
when you're looking at Winks and Skip to be like your forward pushing player, that's not good.
No,
I mean they're fine players, and I think if they were in the Championship, they'd probably be rated quite highly.
Yeah.
They're not Premiership, and they're definitely not where Tottenham want to be in the Premiership at that top end.
No. So where do we think? Is it just the recruitment has gone wrong there? They just haven't bought the right players? Is it a successive?
I think they didn't know what they wanted to be after Pochettino.
Yeah.
But that begs the question, why even let him go? Because there was clearly a plan in place while he was there.
And therefore,
I get that. I don't understand abandoning a strategy for no strategy.
The problem was
I don't even understand it from their point of view, like what they gained from doing what they've done.
They had a really bad start to that season.
Yeah,
I do remember it went to shit under Pochettino.
I mean,
so I'm not.
They should have
discounting.
They didn't let him spend any money. That was the problem.
Well, no, and everyone knew that situation was coming. And I understand they weren't in a position, having just built their new stadium, or at that time, I think wasn't it the first season he wasn't there. Am I right in thinking that?
Did he start that season there?
Maybe. But yeah, so obviously that took up a lot of their finances.
That's when Mourinho came in.
But they clearly...
Jesus, what a mistake that was.
That was always going to be a mistake. It was one of the things we spoke about
last time. I think we said it. We might have said it on the last podcast. I can't remember because it's been, I'll be honest, I didn't do the research. I didn't listen to it.
That's fine. We work,
But I'm so glad that when Palace would be linked with Nuno Espirito Santo,
it didn't happen.
I'm so glad that it didn't happen. And not just because we didn't get him, but obviously because we got Vieira. And I'm sure that may or not be on the cards to talk about. But
it might be.
But
just depends how quickly we get through everything, I guess.
But yeah, I was so glad he handled Spurs so poorly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He made them boring as well. Like they were shit under Mourinho, but at least they were like, He made them dull as fuck and shit.
Well, they were
No, I
top
agree.
after 3 games, in all fairness.
Yeah, to be fair, it's like saying you know, oh, they won the Champions League. Anyone can do that, Ash. Anyone can be top after 3 games.
I mean, one thing that has happened.
I mean, I remember once after like 6 games, Hull were in like 4th. You know.
Oh, well, I remember when Palace was 3rd at one point. Like,
Do you know what I mean? Let's not get carried away.
Yeah. But we can dream. But one thing that has changed since the last podcast is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is no longer manager
I'm
at Man
so
United.
amazed it took him as long as it did to
I
get rid
think
of
he
him.
got so much longer than anyone really expected him to get.
part of me feels like he was trying at the end to get himself sacked.
Just wanted that
Maybe.
It was
payout.
just so bad.
I don't. So much is wrong at that football club, it feels like, because our general consensus in the last pod was that there was no reason on paper, other than the fact they had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as their manager, that they shouldn't be challenging
I
for
think,
the title.
and I'm not, you know, none of us think he was going to be good enough like to do anything on like the world stage and get Man United back on the top of the thing. But I think that he was, he suffered from having Ronaldo thrown at him.
Yeah.
So I think he started to have a bit of a team together. He started to have an idea of how he wanted to play and who he wanted to play.
Because I reckon he probably wanted
but-
him.
I heard
Who wouldn't?
I heard a couple of those signings went.
I can believe that some of them aren't.
I heard he didn't want Ronaldo. I feel like it was Sancho as well.
I mean, that's
Another big one.
Because those
a
are
thing I wanted to
they're the
talk
big
about. Is
flagship
United
signings.
are in danger of, for me, potentially spoiling or ruining 3 of our most
Promising,
talented
players,
players in Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood, and Jadon Sancho. And Sancho in particular, because
he was doing bits in Dortmund.
He was tearing
He-
it up.
but the
He
thing is,
was.
I mean, if you look at it on paper, he went from a system that's drilled, works, and everyone knows their place in the team, to a United squad that hasn't had that since Ferguson left.
Yeah, it's basically these are the players starting. You guys go do what you want.
It definitely
the
seems to
result.
be that way, and I don't think they've improved particularly under Ralph Rangnick.
Yeah.
Nah, but it's interesting him talking. Because obviously he's manages to the end of the season, and then he's stepping up to become like director of football, whatever that
Possibly.
position is.
Yeah, that's something that can happen.
And he's already looking at
But who
signings,
take-
like because he was talking about because there's obviously talk about
They
Van
want
der Beek.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
but
do want Poch. But it's talk about Van der Beek going out on loan.
yeah,
And his
I
whole
had
no,
this
I'm
one
not.
in.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But his whole thing is there is no clause to buy because as director of football, I want him in the summer as a United player. Whether that means because he thinks he can sell it and make good money on it,
yeah.
or whether that means, or whether he thinks there's a plan going forward to have him in the team, I don't know. But he's, and the fact that he's thinking like that. On the one hand, it's a good thing for United that he's already forward planning. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, it also feels like he's not concentrated on the job of being a manager.
Yeah.
Half his
I
mind
don't-
is already on
I
the next
think,
bit.
to be honest with you, I don't think that's what I think. I don't think his job is. I think it's just to keep the ship steady. You know,
Yeah,
just
of course
keep
it
him
is.
pointed in generally the right direction until next season, and we'll try and get someone else. But I'm not convinced Poch is the one to fix it all.
But it seems like that's the way they're going. Though.
Yeah, but
Whether he's going to fix it or not.
I do think Poch would be able to get something, maybe not back to how he was at Dortmund, but I do think Poch would get something out of Sancho.
oh, I definitely think he gets more out of Sancho. But there's just, I think there's too many people in that squad that need to be gone, really. I think, in truth, probably Ronaldo at the end of the season
Yeah.
probably needs to go again.
Well, he won't be gone now,
Pogba really just, he needs to be gone, really.
Calm down, Graham.
Well, the thing is, I've always been a big supporter of Pogba, but it's gone on too long now, and it's too big of a noose around United's neck. Just
He can agree a pre-contract now. Can't he?
yeah, and I'd
Yeah.
let him. To be honest, I
Yeah,
think
so
it's
would
probably
I.
best for everyone involved. I don't know where he ends up. Maybe Madrid.
It'll be PSG or something.
You reckon?
Maybe Juve again.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could see that one either of those.
Juve, I think, would probably be the best thing for him because it's where he's played his best, other than at national team level. But
See, Balotelli's back in the national squad.
is he actually?
Yeah,
Who does he play for now? Is it still in the second division?
genuinely don't know.
Is it Brescia?
No, I think he's moved on from there since. I think he's somewhere else now.
No idea.
That's fair. But yeah, so I think that's really it for United. I don't know.
Yeah, and look, also
They've been very
let's-
underwhelming.
I just want to take the moment to point out and remember all of us in this wonderful moment. The wonderful moment on BT Sport when Rio Ferdinand said that he would make an excellent director of football at United, and Jake Humphrey quite naturally kind of went, okay, so, you know, what would you do? Who'd you sign? And he just went, well, I don't know.
You put a lot of thought into it.
It's a wonderful, wonderful moment of television.
That's fair. So we talked about him briefly. Gerrard and Villa.
Yeah, doing well.
Doing well.
Lucky to have those Liverpool connections to get someone like Coutinho. I don't think...
I mean, the rumours are he's being linked with Suarez next season.
Yeah, I've heard that.
On a free.
And the fact, the fact is, if he's not... if
he
didn't play with them, none of them are going. It sort of
brings me back a bit to, like... And we talked about in the last pod, like, Harry Redknapp's Portsmouth team. Do you know what I mean? We're just getting the back. Like, every time he went to a new club, he was on the phone to Nico and Crouchy.
Every time Sky Sports News announced, like, and Harry, you know, so and so have signed Harry Redknapp, Nico Crouchcar, and all them players were just like, oh, pack me bags, pack me bags. We're on our way.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But it's made me feel a bit like that, a little bit nostalgic of like, it's definitely an old school move, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so where roughly do we think they're going to finish this season?
They'll get top half.
Top half, yeah.
I think that's fair.
Top half. Bottom half of the top half, but
Lowest
top half.
12,
While we're talking about Aston Villa, Jack Grealish at Man City, what do we think?
I think it's been a flop, really.
I think it's a matter of big fish, little pond and all that business. But also I think it's a matter of the way Pep plays is quite unique in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not going to judge him. I wouldn't judge anyone coming into the Premier League. I always give them a year. Yeah. And I think I apply the same thing to Pep Guardiola's City. I think I'd like to give anyone a season because it is a very different way to play and train. Yeah.
And Jack Grealish has gone from being, you know, hot shit at Villa and everything went through him, all of their play.
Yeah, now
City just don't play like that.
Now there's 5 or 6 Jack
Players
Grealishes
don't
at
carry
City.
possession, it's pass and move. And that's just not how he's ever played.
So I'd like to give him a chance to adapt.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I would agree with Ash. I think so far it has been a big disappointment.
If he doesn't improve, then he'll be a flop. 100 mil flop, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the price tag doesn't help.
Where does he go from City?
Back to Villa.
Tottenham.
Well, yeah, back. It would be back to Villa, wouldn't it? Though,
Probably.
With tail between his legs, and it'd probably be only out on loan initially.
Yeah,
just trying to save face. Can we talk about? I'm sure you've got it might even be in there. But
you guys feel free to talk about.
Can we talk about Watford for a little minute?
Absolutely.
Because the last couple of games I've watched, and I do feel like first of all they go through managers like nobody's business. Like genuinely between recording this pod and doing the next one, Hodgson and Lewington may well not be in the role anymore. It may be someone else. I think Watford's close enough that we could probably, if you listen quietly, you could probably hear Ray Lewington shouting from the training ground.
Papa, can you hear me?
But I was watching them last couple of games, and I think the thing that really I felt really sorry for the Watford fans was that they just don't try. Like defensively, they just couldn't give a shit. They're not tracking their men. They're not putting in tackles.
You imagine being those
and what
players.
They need is they need a leader to kind of say, what the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you tracking your man? Why aren't you on him? And whereas like they had Troy Deeney before, who's not great as who's no longer serves the purpose as a player, but as a stalwart in the team, as a figurehead. And I don't think Watford have anyone like that.
No, I don't think they do. I think the other problem is when you change a manager as often as they do, how do you implement anything?
Yeah, no, I
think
the bare
3
minimum.
months to
but you don't have to know. But implementing it, not being a bit confused about where you are and what to do and how to press them, all that stuff's fine.
Well, I think
the bare minimum you can expect is effort.
I would agree with that, but I think, again, going back to the sacking managers as frequently as they do, these players know they don't have to because they're not held accountable.
No, I think the bare minimum you want.
As a fan, absolutely.
Is effort,
I couldn't agree more. But
and we've all known some bang average players that we've loved because they put in the work.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe they just can't defend.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. I mean,
maybe they are putting in the effort, but you just can't see it because
I think they very much have a championship standard squad. Yeah. I don't even think the players they've spent big money on,
or small money.
Dennis is all right. Yeah. He'll probably go on to be somewhere else.
But again, even then, he's all right.
Hard to judge anyone in that Watford team.
Yeah, I just don't think they're a very good team.
Palace are doing bits this season. Don't even talk about Palace.
Well, speaking of, what do we think of Hodgson going? I think he'll get them more solid at the very least.
I don't know if he can save them. That might be a
step
too far.
I think that, I agree.
Yeah, they'll stop leaking goals, but that's probably about it. They're not going to start being prolific.
I was surprised they appointed him though. It's not a very Watford appointment. Normally it's someone Spanish or Italian, or that's worked in the Championship.
Well, he could sort of set him up like he did with Palace.
Well, just very defensive.
Yeah, but then he's still got the quick players up top. Like
yeah, that could work.
We're gonna sell him Milivojevic for 15 mil.
But I don't think they have the overall quality that will help them survive with that. Like I think at least with Palace we had Zaha or someone who could drag us through it. I don't really think they have anyone like that. Maybe Dennis.
I said it also comes back to they don't have anyone that really feels the club.
No.
Whereas I look at Palace, and now obviously we've got a couple of players, but we've also got a lot of the backroom staff.
Yeah.
Are people who have been players, and they know what it means to be at the club, and they know what it means to the fans. So you can pass that on. I don't know if it has anyone.
That comes from, much like with current events in politics, it comes from the top down. So when things are rife within an organisation, good or bad, that comes from the person at the top. And Steve Parish is someone who wanted people who cared about the club, not that they're necessarily the most qualified, but like having people like Mark Bright at the club, who's always been there as like a consultant.
I won't dwell on it too much. I'm very happy with Vieira. I have to still remind ourselves we're in a transition. We've got great young talent coming through and whatever.
I mean,
but I'd love to get Ash as a football correspondent. I'd love to get your opinion on Palace this season, because obviously I'm very biased.
I did think he was overachieving, and then I saw your position in the table, and I was a little underwhelmed. I thought you guys were doing better than that.
I think
it's a lot of draws. If we had that ref in the African Cup of Nations who ended the game in the 85th minute and then again in the 89th minute,
we're not good at holding on for the whole game. That's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's something from his style of management or through our players just making very basic
Yeah, you do have some poor players in there as well.
I mean, Anderson's one of these players that just seems to be brilliant at everything going forward. Like spot on for what you want at the back, but defensively just seems to be at times a complete liability.
Mate, I said this when he was at Fulham.
No, it was what you warned me about. I was like really optimistic about it, so, and I still am. I still think he's going to be a good player. I think those issues can be coached out.
Let's hope so.
I hope so. But I think we've had Guehi in there as well, and he's been settling in. He's made a few mistakes, but again, I just think overall there's a lot to be optimistic about. I like Elise has been improving in recent weeks.
You need a new
love that boy.
What he did to Millwall just fills my heart with joy.
Joel Ward should not be playing in the Prem.
How is he still?
I love
he
Joel
has stepped up so much this season.
As a captain, I think I'd have him as I'd have him as a captain, like as a figurehead, and that definitely.
I was definitely in the club of Joel Ward needed to be sold, but this season I can't. He's done the job.
I still think he does. I think this is
I think you can definitely improve on Joel Ward, but I think he's definitely done better. I think if you go,
I think the kindest way to say it is if you go around the pitch and you go, where could we improve and take ourselves to the next level, player by player? That's one area that we could.
That would be the
get
first
someone better in.
If you're playing at FM, he's the first one out the door.
I think that's fair.
While we've been talking about managers like Hodgson, it's a conversation I've wanted to have about football for a while, and it's about defensive managers. Are they still relevant in today's football?
Always will be. Always will be, because at the end of the day, they are safe. Generally, they're a safe pair of hands.
I think that's changing though. How many managers are out there now? Look at Newcastle. Who was there for them to go for that was a safe pair of hands that they could guarantee would shore up the defence and also be able to coach attacking
just because the managers aren't there doesn't mean that
style
isn't relevant. That's what you're saying. The style.
Teams are just too good going forward now. It's all about having the ball now. Like people don't lump it into the box anymore.
Shame for Chris Wood.
Yeah.
No, but I think he'll provide a service in terms of keeping defenders busy, holding up the ball, bringing other players in that they didn't have before.
Or he'll provide a service like Stuart Pearce at Forest. He'll be the Sparky, and he'll be able to keep the pitch running, keep the lights on.
Why not?
Got to have a trade, right?
Why not?
I tell you what I do want to talk about as well. There's only two other clubs that I personally wanted to talk about here today.
Yeah.
Everton and Norwich.
Yeah.
So Everton. I think on the first thing I want to say on Everton is I think their fans do have this deluded sense of where they should be. I'm not doubting that they're in a bad position. They are in a bad position, but they're comparing it to this idea of we should be up here. It's like, no, you should be here. You're.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, and I don't know what Ash thinks, but since Farhad Mashiri's come in and bought the club, he spent about 500 million.
Spent a lot
on transfers.
Well,
That's not including wages, and we know some of the players they're on are on top whack. Benitez was on a lot of money. Ancelotti was on obscene money.
I feel sorry for Benitez.
They have thrown money at the wall.
He was never going to win, was he?
No, I think in truth it was doomed to fail. Absolutely.
If you manage a club and then go to the rivals.
Yeah, that was never going to work.
No, I mean, when the fans are screaming before he's even been appointed and putting signs on walls, and
that's when you say, okay, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe we're making
huge
a mistake
respect to
here.
Duncan Ferguson for putting money behind the bars, by the way, before the game the other week.
Wow.
That is such a... Do you know what, though? If it wasn't for the fact I know he wants the job permanently, I would agree with you.
I don't know why.
But it's for me, that's like a publicity, sort of like get the fans behind me.
I'd give it to him.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't give it to him last time.
Yeah.
I'd give it to Wayne Rooney.
He's already turned it down.
Has he turned it down? Is that why?
He said that his agent, he said
I did not
he
hear
said
that.
he
Fair
said
enough.
his agent spoke to him about it, said they're interested, and he said, "No, I'm staying here. I'm sticking it
Seeing
out
this
here."
through.
Yeah.
Fair play. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well,
Oh no, he did say that. To be fair,
Do you
actually,
think otherwise he was?
what he said was, he said, I've no doubt in my mind that one day I will be a Premier League manager when I'm ready, and I'm sure that might even include being at Everton. But right now I've got a job at Derby, and I'm going to see that through.
Basically, he's
well, we know you like it, fanboy.
He's a captain going down with his ship. Do you know what I mean? I took the job.
He's not doing what Lampard did and let his ego get ahead of him and be like,
No.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, I'm ready for this. Yeah, I'm ready for this. Champions League. Yeah, no worries, mate.
Yeah.
And you're right, that doesn't happen in football really anymore, does it? No one puts their hand up and go, maybe this is out of my league.
Yeah, I'm not good enough yet.
And to be honest, Everton are in a really shit position, and it might go really badly because, as he said, he's not quite ready.
He would literally be jumping from a sinking ship to a sinking ship.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
at least he's
close.
familiar with this sinking ship.
They are in a really tough position, especially in terms of the league. They're not far off of...
You know what it reminds me of? When I used to play FM and you'd get like 3 or 4 seasons in and then Everton would be in the Championship and you'd be like, that never fucking happened.
Yeah, and it's happened.
Yeah, actually.
Every time I play it, the last year's one, Ancelotti's still the manager. And within 2 months, Ancelotti's sacked. By the end of the season, they've either just avoided relegation. Like every season, they struggle.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the team, just like it just doesn't make sense.
No, I agree, and I do feel sorry for him. Eventually, as well, Duncan Ferguson, they're going to keep bringing managers. Sooner or later, a manager's going to come in with his own backroom staff, and Ferguson will be out the door.
Yeah.
Norwich is the other one.
Dean Smith's doing all right.
I mean,
they're playing better.
no, they're playing okay.
I think he's improved them.
I was impressed to see him out, even though Burnley had like 6 games on them or whatever. But I didn't expect to see them lift themselves out of the bottom zone. I didn't.
No, I think
it's given their fans maybe a full sense of hope that the comeback's on.
Necessarily going to be enough.
No, God,
but I think it definitely gives them a little bit of pride.
The thing was they beat Watford 3-0 and it's like Watford.
I know, like I said, they just weren't even tracking their man.
It just feels like a game Palace are going to lose.
Do you know what it was? It was, when we used to play with someone, and I'm not going to call them out one name, but you know who it is, and they used to like stick their leg out as an attempt to tackle someone. And it's like if they got around the legs, like, well, shit, that's too good for me. That's like watching Watford defend.
I don't know who you're talking about.
They like literally, they'll like.
I want you to name them.
Put one tackle in, and they'll be like, "Well, shit, you might as well go and score, mate, because you're way too good."
Do you know what used to really bother me when people just used to try and pass and shoot through people like they weren't there?
Are you coming at me, bro?
Sorry,
Yes,
whoa.
It was when they did
Just
the
talking
Alan
out loud.
Shearer celebration before even shooting.
I was getting
That
my
was
balance.
my issue.
It was the David Beckham run up.
I knew how much power I put into my shots, and I needed to prepare my body for that impact.
Yeah, we all did.
Although I don't think the El Matador is gonna make a.
I see that move on a football pitch as a very high risk, high reward sort of situation. It's gonna go wrong more than it goes right. About 1 in a million, mate.
We did see it at the African Cup of Nations.
That is true.
The goalie literally stepped out of the way.
As I said, it's high risk, high reward, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to look.
And yeah, also I think we have
to
to talk about also like it has happened in La Liga before where a ref blew early, but the ref who blew up in I think it was the Tunisia game, twice, and eventually I think it was Tunisia, Mali maybe, and whatever. One of the teams was just like the second time on the 8-0. Then I'm not coming back out to finish it. It's fucking pointless.
No.
And he was like, "No, you've got to come in." They're like, "I'm not fucking coming out."
Well, he was suspended a few years back for corruption.
And hasn't he been suspended again now?
It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Also,
it's not
I
great.
can imagine him being there like, fuck, my children's lives.
I'm also I can't do referees without talking about that horseshit performance from Kevin Friend in the Liverpool Palace game, Palace Liverpool.
He did,
and the officials
job.
and Paulson, who was worse, arguably, because he's got TV screens and he can fucking see that the shit weren't shit.
They did do a bad job. How Gaeta stayed on the pitch after that brutal leg breaker.
Cash me outside. How about that?
I mean,
VAR in general has been really bad recently.
It's just because our referees are so shit and inconsistent.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean,
some of
that's
the
always
worst
been our
refereeing
position.
in world football. In like
the position has always been for us. I think in general that the technology itself is not a problem.
I mean,
there. It's how it's being.
I don't watch a lot of. I don't watch a lot of any of the other football. I watch a little bit of German football, a little bit of Spanish football, tiny little bit of Italian football from time to time. I just think I never really watched French football, I must admit, but I think across those leagues, I do feel like our refereeing standards are the lowest.
Really?
Not great.
Yeah, and therefore, VAR is still being run by referees, so you put like shit referees and it's still going to be
I feel
bad.
like VAR has highlighted how little our refs know about football.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I think that's a very fair way to put it.
Sometimes it seems like they're people like from basketball and they're like, this is non-contact.
It's almost like they've only had half the training required
to
be a
I do
ref,
want to
and
see.
they've been rushed
I want to see refs. I would like to see that. First of all, I want to hear what that's going on with the refs because we just don't have enough. I'd also like to see. I'd like to see the NFL ice hockey style thing, and once they've made a decision, clip the mic and tell the fans in the ground what the decision is, what they've made.
I think it needs to be more like rugby.
But let me pitch this to you. Yeah, I'd like to see it more like rugby. But let me pitch this to you, okay? What about in the VAR box having as at least a member of the team, rather than a referee, having someone who's played the game, so who has a better idea of how movement works and how you jump for a ball and how you tackle and has a bit more of an understanding of what it's like to play.
I think on paper it sounds like a good idea, but I think once you start getting into logistically, that just alone, I don't think it would work. But I think that person's still fallible. Like if you put Rio Ferdinand,
oh, you mean
in there?
He's going to be sporting director at United.
He's not going to give you accurate information, is he?
The thing is, ideally, you need
that guy thought he was a striker. So
ideally, you need Gary and Jamie in there.
Do we though?
Well, they call it. Like they don't.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you shit for falling over.
Yeah, but we can't afford to pay them to do that job as well.
Sky Sports can afford them to do shit.
They're not going to pay it.
So I just wanted to pitch it to you to see,
I don't mind the idea if they can make it work.
I like
but I just think it adds another human
because sometimes
element
referees do give decisions and you think you clearly never played the game because that's how you fall, that's how you run, that's what.
Wouldn't you have thought referees would have been around football a lot themselves? So surely they know how it works.
Yeah, they're like Randall in Recess. They're from the sidelines. They don't join in.
Like, especially if you're refereeing at the top level, you're seeing players play football at a high level, so you know.
Yeah, but you can't see good decisions being made because you're making them.
You know what? It shocks me how they're still getting fooled by players falling over.
Oh
yeah, I mean the Thiago Silva one.
Oh,
that was a joke.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you do wonder. But it's always happened, and I think I don't know.
Yeah, but I know
I think
the difference.
I think it's easier for us because we get to see the replays. I think.
So do they now.
Yeah.
So do they.
How are they still making?
That's the problem.
Do you reckon they wait until the end of the season and do a season review of what's happened?
Also, it really bothers me that none of the referees are strong enough. Every single time this season in the Premier League, when a ref's gone over to the monitor. He's given the decision. He's overturned whatever the decision was.
Yeah,
we have not seen this season a referee be strong enough to watch the screen and go, no, I'm sticking with my original call. I don't see enough there to change it.
But that's because, again, it's an easy fallback for them, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's just like,
I feel like the guys at Stockley have more influence than the actual ref. Like, I feel like if they say something, the ref's got to go with it.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think they have too much power.
I feel like that's part of the...
Yeah, I think if you're going to allow the ref to have an excuse to take it out of his hands by saying, oh, VAR showed me this, yeah, just take it out of his hands completely.
In which case, just don't have a ref.
If he's not sure no, I think you still need a ref. I think all it would need to be is if the ref's not sure over the decision.
I think refs need
to
the refs have to ask,
tell me what's going on.
I think the refs have to take more ownership of the game and they have to say, this is my game, my decisions, and yeah, they can ask, they can say, and the VAR can say,
and then there's a guy goes, oh well, it sort of looks like this. He goes, well, no, I think I saw this, and then it might.
If the ref, if the VAR go, we've seen something you want to look at, and the ref can go, what is it? And they go, oh, number 3 putting his leg in, and the ref can just, in theory, then can turn around and be strong enough to say, no, I saw that, he didn't make contact. And maybe VAR go, well, we think he did, in which case he can go and have a look. But he can just be strong enough to go, no, I'm not, I'm not looking at it.
They literally need to take a leap out of rugby union.
Yeah, rugby
where they
union,
put it on
I
the
think
big
is
screen
the way,
and they talk on it open mic in the stadium.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the frustrating things is you don't know what's being given, but as soon as the ref goes to his little screen, it's not going to go your way. Yeah. Or it is, depending on what side you're on. But yeah.
No, I think that's fair. I agree with that. So I think starting to get towards the end of it now. So what we'll sort of go to is predictions now to sort of sum up. I'll tell you who I think is going to go down. I've put Watford, Norwich.
Yep.
And I've put either Burnley or Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think Everton are an outside shout if they don't pull their shit together. I think if Newcastle beat Everton,
I think
then Everton are really in trouble. But
I'm with you. I think it's between those 4. I would edge towards Newcastle over Burnley going down.
Yeah, I think just as the Dyche effect probably.
Yeah, and also they've got games in hand.
They have, but I just think that's going to put a lot of pressure on them in terms of schedule. They're going to have a lot of games.
I know, and that's the thing that's going to go against them is the COVID thing.
Yeah.
But also, I just don't. It's just something about me. I just don't see Eddie Howe as the man to turn it around.
I think if they can get in a couple of really top class players between now and the end of the window, they have more of a chance.
I'm leaning more towards Newcastle.
Yeah,
but
we all agree it's Watford and Norwich then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think Norwich have definitely improved on.
I feel so sorry for the Norwich fans, by the way. As I understand where the club's coming from, but for your club to turn around and say we are happy to just be relegated and promoted and just yo-yo between the league, that's so unexciting for the fans. That's so lacking ambition.
You'd be tempted to switch clubs.
I think you would. When they came to Palace earlier this season, they were such good spirits and they were so good about it. It's like, man, every football fan, but these guys deserve
maybe they are enjoying
just
it,
a cup run.
Maybe they do enjoy the process of up and down.
They don't. The fans don't.
Okay, fair enough.
No, they don't.
All right, fair enough. That shuts me up.
Always a good podcast.
I mean, talking about it being boring at the bottom, it's sort of boring at the top, really, isn't it? I mean, we know City are going to win the league. Liverpool second.
Honestly, don't.
Well, you think City have a chance of choking it?
I love an outside prediction.
Well, I think at this stage, if they didn't win the league, you'd have to argue that they.
I wouldn't say they've choked.
The refs are doing everything to try and help Liverpool keep this title race open.
I don't know about that.
Of course, you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I know, but it was like in the Tottenham game. I mean, I know that was a little while back. Last month, was it? December? Well, I mean, Kane should have been sent off. And then Robbo got sent off. I mean, what are you doing? I just didn't get it.
That's fair.
But then the handball for
I just don't see City sort of dropping it from here. I mean, they've definitely got issues.
I'm with Ash. They could.
Yeah.
But it's theirs to lose. That's how I see it. It's theirs to lose.
We've got a game in hand. We win that. We're 8 behind them?
6, I think.
Is it 6?
6.
I guess it's not too far, but I just think...
You guys talk amongst yourself. I'll check it now.
I think it's 8.
But coming up behind them, I think the top 4 is Chelsea and United. I put Chelsea 3rd, United 4th.
I was going to say I could see Tottenham doing it.
No, 6. If you win the next one, it's 6.
I cannot see Spurs making top 4.
If you win your game in hand, it's 6.
I cannot see Spurs making top 4.
I don't know.
It's a big ask.
Because
they haven't improved enough under.
But United aren't getting any better. I see West Ham.
But they're not
getting
getting worse.
West Ham dropping off.
They're not as
West
bad
Ham
as
have got a great 1 to 11 and nothing beyond that.
Yeah, and plus they're still in Europa League.
United aren't as bad as they were under Ollie, and they've not dropped particularly. I know they haven't improved, but they're not worse. So I sort of feel like they'll just make it over the line.
I don't know. It's something about Tottenham and Conte. Because if they win their games in hand,
definitely has a mystique about him that it just feels like he will achieve.
This is my prediction. Tottenham will absolutely make it into the top 4. because they
What, this
have to.
season?
Because as Tottenham, they have to have something to blow by the end of the season, and their top 4 position will be it.
Although that's been Leicester the last 2 years.
It has been Leicester.
Leicester
They've
aren't
not.
even
They've
in
not
the
seen out.
conversation.
They've
for
not
me
seen
now.
Oh
out.
no, they're not.
Um,
They've not seen out a
They might
season
sneak
at all.
into Conference League, but
I think
I think
that
they'll get Europe of some kind.
is
Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers in danger of becoming known as the manager equivalent of Tottenham, just a choke
A loser.
artist.
yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, I know
is.
he won the FA Cup last season, so a little bit of respect to his name.
Yeah.
And he's won a League Cup with Swansea. Was he the manager that did? Or was that Roberta?
Did he win anything with Celtic?
he won quite a few.
Yeah, I was gonna say he won a bit with
But then
Celtic,
that was
didn't
when Rangers was still on the way up.
he? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. No, I'm with you. It's nothing.
Yeah,
I could go there and win
um,
something with Celtic.
Yeah, I reckon I could as well. To be fair,
I reckon I
um,
could win something with Celtic and maintain my full-time job down here in London.
well, I don't know if I'd be that cocky, but
I'll say it. You
But-
attack the Germans, I'll attack the Scots.
so yeah, Brendan Rodgers. I just think, I mean, that game the other week, that it was the 94th minute and they were 2-1 up.
Against Tottenham.
12
Yeah,
seconds left
so
on the clock.
bad.
How does
the
that
fuck?
happen?
Now, this isn't American football where it stops from time
No.
to time and the clock ticks.
Mm.
That is 12 seconds on the clock. Not only do you draw it, but you lose it. And I love
Yeah.
the fact that about
Yeah.
20 seconds before that,
And that's not
Bergwijn,
because
who
Tottenham
got,
are good.
no,
That's
but
just
Bergwijn
Yeah.
got the equaliser and the winner, and about 20 seconds before he got his first equaliser, Soyuncu was giving it the big one to him on the floor. He was like, "Get up, you fucking
That's the
little
wor-
bitch," or whatever. And
when
then
no, it's just the what you don't goad players on in that situation, do you? I mean, it's just
I don't
when
know. I
I
would
heard
if
that
they were at
result, I
Tottenham.
was a bit like, it's just at
Shocking.
every turn that man just falls short, doesn't he? The
Yeah.
only reason he won the FA Cup was because Tillemans decided to
Bang
bang
one
in a
out. Yeah.
worldie. But other than that, every time they get close to top 4, it's just not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Liverpool, we blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
So,
should have won it
If
with
he, I
Liverpool.
promise you, if he was manager the year they won the Premier League, Leicester would have never won a Premier League. I
Oh,
have no
God, no.
doubt he'd have found a way to fuck that up.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so I think on that lovely note, is as good as. Oh wait, no, we can finish off. So I've put United. My top 4 is City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. I've then put Arsenal. I just think they've been consistent enough to get 5th. West Ham at 6th and Spurs at 7th.
Okay, I wouldn't have Spurs at 7th. I'm not even sure
No.
they'd make that.
I think Spurs will be higher. I think they're 5th. Or
Wow.
4th.
They
You've
probably
done
will.
a
To
massive
be honest, they
180 on Spurs.
they
bro.
probably
You
will
must
end
be a
up-
big
Conte.
Conte fan, yeah.
No, well, I'm not. I hate the cunt, but I don't know.
Why do you hate him
It's
out
just
of
something
curiosity?
I don't know because
Just don't
they've.
like him.
I think it's because they stopped playing Kane at CDM.
Oh, so he's because he's actually utilising England's best
I mean, he's
player
still not
as
doing
what he
much,
should
but
be. I mean, he's improved. I think it's
he's only
5
been
in
in a couple
9.
of months. So.
5 in 9,
Yes.
I think, under Conte. Harry
Yeah.
Kane now. I mean, I was really harsh about Harry Kane last time. I called him a fraud.
you
So,
did.
Um,
You were not nice.
I mean, I still don't
remember
think.
that.
I mean, the 5 goals isn't enough to turn me completely.
Okay, so
But-
No, I
Yeah.
remember. I remember him scoring the hat trick in the first half hat trick for England as well. And I remember because we were at the airport at the time.
Mm.
Was
was
that
like-
in the qualifiers?
Yeah, and I was
That
like,
means shit, I didn't watch it.
no. I just remember checking in and being like, "Oh, I'll check that in 10 minutes." And then I came back and Kane had gone from nothing to a hat trick, and I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
turn it around."
Yeah.
But I think I wouldn't make. I don't feel comfortable making a prediction on that top 7 because I do think
It's
I
too
don't have. It's
changing.
really weird. Apart from
Chelsea are definitely getting 3rd.
Liverpool and City, I don't, and I think Chelsea will probably get top 4.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't feel confident in any of the others to actually stick it out. It's going to be a case of
Who doesn't?
who
bottle?
doesn't. Yeah, it's going
Yeah.
to be a case of who bottles it
Yeah.
rather
Who
than
bottles
it
who
least,
wins it. Yeah, who's
basically.
bottles it least.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. And I might be wrong. Someone might go on on a great run.
Maybe.
You know, I might be.
But I think
So-
the league title will come down to whether we beat City.
That's going to
We've
be a
got
big
to
game.
beat
'Cause that would
City.
then, if you play City, if you win the next game in hand and play City, that reduces the gap to 3 points.
Yeah.
3 points is doable.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
I
consider
think
that a
though,
done thing at
you
all.
throw in that scenario and City don't win the league, that is a choking
I don't
festival.
know if
That
it
is. No,
I still don't know if it is.
I think it is. If you lose to Liverpool and then choke again, because they'd have to lose again and Liverpool win again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Or
that's
at least lose once, maybe another 2 times.
it's,
So that
it's
require 3
suddenly-
losses.
Yeah,
My
but
point-
that's what we did when we were leading.
My point is suddenly
Yeah.
it's feasible. 3 points, like at the moment it's 9 points or whatever it is, and it's
Yeah.
like, fucking hell, yeah, it's theirs to lose. But 3 points, you're like, could be anyone's.
No, absolutely. But for me, I consider that choking if I was City. I'd be proper angry if I was a City
And I'm
fan.
glad you're not my football director or my owner.
Pep would be gone.
Pep out.
He's just a fraud.
Pep out. He is a fraud, absolutely, Ash.
I think he
consider
is
that
a
myself.
bit overrated, though.
I think he's definitely lost a little bit of his shine in England. I think more than anything because a lot of managers have...
Copied him.
Yeah. And I think it's diluted how much superior...
Also, it's that thing of sometimes...
A lot of it's just down to the fact they
you-
can afford to buy the best players.
If you come along and do something and you start a trend, there's every chance that someone's going to come along and do it better than you are.
Yeah, and
you
the
were
thing
just
is,
the first to do it, which is huge.
He was doing it imitating
someone-
Cruyff or influenced by Cruyff.
But someone
so,
can come along and do what you do better,
Yeah,
and there's always a chance of that.
yeah. And
Well,
I don't think that necessarily negates... I think that doesn't necessarily make whoever comes after him better because he was the first and he's done an incredible
He's
job.
done a great job. The only reason why I think he's a bit overrated or overhyped was because it's all money.
Yeah,
never
There's a lot of money,
If
no.
you put him at
Well, he's
Spurs,
had to be
I don't
better.
know if he does
He's
a good
never
job.
done-
I don't think he does a good
He's
job
never
at
done a
Spurs.
Brian Clough.
No.
I mean, he's
No.
gone to Barca, Munich, and then City.
Yeah, and that
he's
Barca
not had
team,
to worry about how much money
that
he's got to
Barca
spend.
and the Munich team,
All of the players
genuinely,
he's got.
I know
Yeah.
I've said it about Scotland, but that Barca team and that Munich team, I feel like I'd have won at least a cup with them. I mean, even
had
if I
the
was a
team he
terrible
had at
manager,
Barcelona,
yeah, I would have won at least
yeah,
something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Minimum 2 trophies.
I reckon I'll win the Champions League with that
You reckon?
Barca team. Yeah, absolutely.
You reckon you beat Arsenal in the final?
Yes. Yes, and then I'd still sign Thierry Henry afterwards. Absolutely.
Mate, under that team when Xhaka comes in and takes out, Messi, just completely chops him down from the throat,
Yeah.
then we'll see what happens. Then we'll see where you're playing. You and your
Yeah.
Barca team.
When
Let's
Jack
do
has
it,
got
mate.
himself sent off.
Mate, we've got Puyol back then. We're fine. Got Puyol.
I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, mate, that guy was a monster.
Do you think Xavi will do a job at Barca, or do you think it's just
No.
bringing in a fan favourite so that no one gets annoyed?
Yeah, I think he played a progressive system out in Saudi Arabia. Like, he had them paying the ball on the ground.
What are you, like a
so-
gambling addict? What are you following Saudi Arabian football for?
No, it's just what I've read. I've read that he played a progressive
Got
style of
subscription
football.
to their league, I believe.
Oh, yeah, someone reads.
Well, I famously love those places and the people that run them, don't I?
You do.
True.
You do.
People in the Middle East.
You're always telling me these fucking Westerners.
They're the problem.
I've heard you
Hello,
want to base your
Akbar.
marriage on their way of life.
Yeah, I've heard the same things. I've heard your partner's just the first.
Yeah.
She's part of a harem. A harem? Harem?
I always call it a harem, but yeah, whatever.
Harem works.
But no, but like joke aside, like I don't know anything about him as a manager.
No, me neither. Me neither.
Well, you were the expert a minute ago.
No, I just read that I read a sentence that said Xavi played a progressive style.
Did you watch
wherever it
YouTube?
was.
or-
No, I
yeah,
didn't.
I hear that's a
Just
good
I
place to
didn't.
learn things.
It is a
That's how
good
you
place to
become an
learn. I've
expert.
learned lots from YouTube. How dare you?
Maybe you could share us sometime on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, it's private.
You've sent me some of them.
What?
You've sent me some of them links.
Some
I've seen
links.
some of them.
The less personal stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching the dating videos and the love advice, and it's just for me, man.
I know. Thanks for watching my dating advice videos, by the way.
I'm the most loyal viewer you have.
You are. It's pretty much you and my mum, and I'm really disappointed that she
It's
needs
weird
dating
your
advice.
mum watches it. Yeah, but your mum, what a woman! What a woman!
I really don't want to end the podcast there.
I do.
I really don't.
I would love that.
Yeah. How do you feel about Jake's mum?
You know, I wish I would have seen her in her prime.
Wow.
Back
What does that even mean?
back in those ice skating days.
Oh wow.
Figure skating.
He's-
Honestly, right?
Figure skating there.
This is horrendous. I don't like this.
I would happily Blades of Glory her.
No.
Wow. Are you talking about the finishing?
I don't do it. You don't need to do it.
Don't want to close my eyes.
I don't know if I have to make this clear. No one gets intimate or serenades my mum
Or Blades of Glory's her.
or Blades of Glory's her at all. I would consider that intimate.
I've never heard someone use that as a thing they're going to do to someone either. I'm going to blame.
No, and it's a shame. I'd have quite liked it if it had been about anyone other than my mum.
What about your dad?
Borderline. We'll talk about it.
Okay. As long as we know where the lines
It's
are.
a negotiation.
And guys, that's great news for you. Let us know what you think about what we've been saying. It'll be on the screen. But Jake, tell them where they can find us.
They can find us at Swords Crossing on Twitter.
Yep.
They can find us at Crossing Swords on Facebook, or if you just want to go on Tara Strong's page, follow the links. She's bigging us up. You can find us at CrossingSwords_podcast on Instagram. And you can email us at crossingswords19@gmail.com. And I think you should. We do. I know we said it before. We want some more audience interaction. We want you guys to talk to us, ask us silly questions, serious
also
questions, advice. Tell us what you want to hear us talk about. Absolutely.
And if you want to write in and genuinely give us some of your problems anonymously, we would love to do a section called Council of Bros.
And we've got another bro who can preside on the council. But also, if you see, we've got a football correspondent. If you think you're worth being a correspondent of some kind,
please reach out. I've heard
hit us
that
up, CrossingSwords19@gmail.com.
Crossing Sword tradition nearly every episode because fuck him. His name's Alex. Apparently, he was quite jealous that Ash was coming on.
I don't know why the fuck he wants an apology from me when you slag him off way more than I do. I said one thing once, I put him out of a job.
This is what makes me think he doesn't listen, because if he was listening, why would he want to come on?
He's just disappointed you that you haven't invited him on.
But
he has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen his OnlyFans
package.
He can bring his YouTube education to the floor.
That's true. And he's a linguist, as we know. He's good at setting routes. He knows how to get through places, even if he's never been there before.
Yeah. It's true. We should do that. We should get him on, and we should just do a challenge. I'm setting this out for you now. We should just do a challenge where we say, right, we're in Bath. Get from the station to the Golden Lion pub. Go. And just watch him. Take us there.
If you want to win a bet within 5 seconds, he's good for that.
Bless him. But yeah, I mean, look, I'd have Alex on. Obviously, I've known the guy a long time. I have a good laugh with him. Let us know, Alex, what you want to come on and talk about.
Yeah. But football-wise, I think we're pretty much covered. I think we're having some real issues here. Right as we got to the end, it seems like the pets are not behaving.
No. So, guys, on that note, we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.